Now by Arizona Senator John McCain, who is, of course, a decorated war hero and was held as a POW for 5 years, has been very outspoken on this issue on the floor of the Senate yesterday. He joins me now. Senator McCain, thank you so much for being with us. It's always great to have you, sir.
Thank you, Martha.
You know, I've heard a lot of veterans so emotional to the point of tears over this issue. Talk to me about how you think this has been handled by the White House.
Well, I think it's been terribly handled by the White House, but let's have a little straight talk, Martha. They wouldn't have had the opportunity to handle it that way if we had not shut down the government on a fool's errand that we were not going to accomplish. The whole premise of shutting down the government was the repeal of Obamacare. I fought against Obamacare harder than any of the people who wanted to shut down the government. I campaigned all over this country in 2012 saying elect Mitt Romney and we'll repeal and replace Obamacare. We weren't going to defund Obamacare, and so we shut down the government, and then that gave the opportunity for this to be terribly, awfully mismanaged and mishandled by the White House. If we hadn't shut down the government, this wouldn't have happened. And they shut down the government with a fool's errand that would not succeed, and that's a fact.
Watching a couple of seconds a moment ago of the Value Voters Summit, Senator Ted Cruz, who I think you're directing a lot of these comments to, says he's on his way to the White House right now to talk to the president. Will you be in that meeting? What do you think about that? You know, how do you feel about him representing you all there?
First of all, Martha, please, he's not representing us there. The Republican senators are going over to meet with the president, which I wish the president had asked us to come over a week ago. I think it's unconscionable that the president has not negotiated with us because he understands that he has the advantage. Look at the Wall Street Journal poll. Wall Street Journal is not a liberal organization. Look at the Wall Street Journal poll this morning. 24% of the American people approve of Republicans. That's an all-time low. We better wake up, and we ought to understand that we can get a positive agenda for America. We can win the next election and get majorities in both houses, and that way we can repeal and replace Obamacare. So we're in serious situation right here, and we better wake up, and we better try to come to an agreement, salvaging something out of this, but get the government going again and get our Grand Canyon open again, where we're having to fly food up to people who are employees of the concessionaires
what would you ask
for,
Senator? You know, what would you want
I would ask for
in return?
I would want to fix the medical devices bill on the debt limit.
Do you think the president will go for that?
Paul Ryan? I don't know, but we ought to ask for it rather than saying we have to defund Obamacare. And Paul Ryan yesterday in the Wall Street Journal had a good set of requirements that had to do with entitlement reform and other reforms that we could be asking for that are achievable, but defunding Obamacare is not achievable. So let's not delude our supporters by telling them that it is under the present circumstances, because elections have consequences.
Yeah. Well, now what we've got is, you know, there was this going out on this limb to say that it's all going to be about defunding Obamacare. So now the Republican Party finds itself in the position of saying, okay, now what's our next negotiation thing? What do we want? Do we want to defund the medical devices tax? I mean, repeal that? Do we want to try to get some tax reform going here? It looks like a scramble.
It is. It is, because we initially shut down the government on the premise that somehow we would be able to defund Obamacare. And there were some of us who said, what you're asking for is not possible, particularly those of us who fought before some of these other people were ever in the Senate. I fought for 25 days in 2009. I fought all across this country during the 2012 campaign to replace and repeal Obamacare. And so on the debt limit now, there are things that we could negotiate with the president about, some entitlement reforms, some tax reforms, things that are achievable. Defunding Obamacare is not one of them.
Well, we'll see, you know, how the package gets put together.
I guarantee it. You know, not only will you see, I guarantee it.
All right, let me ask you one more thing about this military families issue before I let you go. There are some people who believe that Chuck Hagel needs to go because he is the captain of the ship in this case. What do you think?
The only nominee for Secretary of Defense that I voted against was Chuck Hagel. But this is not a reason for him to resign. Everybody should be held accountable for it. But shouldn't the people who created this situation where down the government, where they were able to take advantage of, shouldn't they be held accountable too?
Senator, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to talk to you. We'll see you next time.